Welcome back to Cartoonime Studios. I'm so glad that I managed to make another video for my YouTube channel. In my last one, I covered all 3 Omnitrix worn by Ben Tennyson. I've explained their origins and purposes, and gone through all their unique functions and special features as much as I could. Now, as promised, I will cover the alien transformations within the Omnitrixes, starting of course with the original 10 aliens which started the franchise and made it so popular. Throughout the franchise, Ben Tennyson has possessed multiple alien forms via the Omnitrix in each series, 22 from original series, 13 from Alien Force, 11 from Ultimate Alien plus the 8 Ultimates, 16 from Omniverse, and 4 from the reboot. And including non-canon aliens that never officially appeared on the series but are said to exist, Ben possessing 25 and the original series Ben 10,000 having 12. These transformations are genetically perfect versions of their respective species, meaning that they are far superior to any of their average races instead of just being genetic duplicates. However, it has not been confirmed how much stronger they are, and it's very possible that genetic perfection varies between each alien. So my most reasonable guess is at least 6 times greater. It should be noted that regardless of being perfect versions, there are some alien forms that are weaker than even average humans. Not to mention that this feature is largely influenced by Ben's age. For example, Grey Matter is not at all as smart as Azimuth due to only being 16 years old. I will be rating each transformation in order in which they debuted in the series based on their raw power, versatility, strength, speed, durability, win rate percentage, and potential. On a scale of 7 out of 7, a total of 49 across the entire franchise, and give them an overall rank from F class to S class and in the tier system. I will be relying on feats and scenes from the cartoons and movies on what Ben has done, but also what other members of their species have done, information in the wiki and statements from writers at some extent, in-universe statements, and my own opinion, speculations and ideas from the entire franchise. I'll even be relying on the reboot continuity, because while it may lean more on the cartoony side, it is not unreasonable to assume that the aliens of the main continuity are capable of the same feats as the aliens in the reboot, with some obvious exceptions. And I will be relying on some calculations of feats made by other YouTubers such as Inktank and Jiminoris Entertainment, because I'm not that great at mathematics, but I'll try my best to come to my own conclusions. Heatblast is a pyronite from Pyros, a star with planet-like characteristics. He is the first alien to debut in the franchise, appearing in the first episode, and then there were 10. Heatblast's appearance is a thermodynamic plasma-based life form whose entire body is composed of a super-hot inner plasma that's colored light yellow, which is partially covered by dark reddish-brown volcanic rocks. Heatblast has large forearms with 4-fingered hands, and his feet have a slight oval-like design with only 2 toes and 1 back toe. His collarbone resembles a volcano which generates a fiery hair that covers his head, leaving his mask-like face visible with no eyes, ears, or nose. Pyros, unlike most ordinary planets, is a fully functional star like our own solar system sun, except it's greatly cooled down to a certain degree, allowing land mass to form around it, yet it's still too extremely hot for most life forms to inhabit except for pyronites and their natural predators, crabdozers. Pyros has a wide-open landscape of infernal plumes that erupt miles into the atmosphere, active volcanoes, and raging rivers of molten lava cutting massive swaths across the fire-singed tundra. The Pyronites have a festival in which they drop ice eggs into the largest mountain, Mount Helios, in order to prevent the planet from overheating, and also as an excuse to host a massive party. Heatblast has the ability of pyrokinesis, meaning he can generate and manipulate heat and flames at very high temperatures from his body. He can also drastically amplify the heat he gives off to extreme degrees, allowing him to melt Vilgax's electric net and knock off Rojo in drone form. Heatblast can use said heat to melt various solid objects such as iron chains and stones instantly. He can solidify slushy substances and creatures like Lenopans into rock-like statues, and he once melted a road, trapping Vilgax in molten tar for a moment, Several years later he was able to bury him in the ground up to his shoulders and melted a tank that Victor was lifting into a puddle of molten metal within seconds. He can set things on fire with just a touch or even do it telepathic by pointing his hand at a distance. Heatblast can absorb fire and heat as well as generate them. He quickly suppressed the flames of his large area of buildings that caught on fire due to an accident. Heatblast is capable of making his flames explosive, as his fire projectiles typically cause explosions every time he uses them. On that note, he can create fire fuses with a snap of his fingers to ignite flammable or explosive substances. Heatblast's flames are highly effective on Nosedienians as fire can cause them to lose their electric powers. As one of the Omnitrix's most versatile aliens, Heatblast can shoot his fire in a variety of ways, such as his fire blasts that can be large enough to engulf the planetarium monster that was possessed by the megawatts, and he can mold his flames into fireballs, his largest of which, known as a fire bomb, was powerful enough to destroy the planetarium monster, forcing the megawatts out. Or he can create fire weapons like spears shaped like crescents that can be used for piercing, slicing, or causing explosion, and also he can make fire dagger as cutting weapons, throw fire discs for more slicing weapons or explosive projectiles, and project fire laser for more precise attacks, able to cut through cars, and can cut and weld metal like a blowtorch. Heatblast can create a fire tornado by spinning around really fast, breath fire like a dragon, spit fire that easily melts handcuffs, and launch fire-enhanced fists for powerful punches. Heatblast can create pyrotechnic projections in the sky, though technically only Gwen 10 performed this ability first. Ben said he already learned it even though it took a month. And he can also glow in the dark like candle and can generate more light using his flames. Heatblast has a technique called supernova hot, in which he rapidly increases the heat of his flames to very extreme levels, creating a huge explosion like a supernova. He can perform this by either being very angry when he was a toddler or by flying around at super high speeds like when he defeated Sam. Naturally, Heatblast is invulnerable to both extreme heat and cold. He was easily able to thaw his way out from being frozen in ice by even Ultimate Big Chill's ice flames, and due to his species evolving on the surface of his star-like planet despite it being a very cold star, Heatblast resistance could reach up to 6,000 degrees Celsius or 10,832 degrees Fahrenheit. Overall, Heatblast is very skilled and imaginative with his pyrokinesis and is one of the best fire aliens in the Omnitrix, earning him a 7 out of 7 in versatility. In terms of raw power, Heatblast's most famous feats are when he destroyed the Fountain of Youth, which was the size of a lake, and the roof of the cave he was in when he was turned into a 4-year-old having a temper tantrum and vaporizing Sam as he was a 100-foot water monster form. In the Versus Battle Wiki, the energy Heatblast emitted in his tantrum is calculated to be 3.59 kilotons of TNT, and him defeating Sam as a water monster is 4.22 kilotons of TNT. Both of which are at small town level plus of destruction. With the multiplier in mind, Heatblast in his adulthood could generate enough power to reach over city level to low mountain level. So Heatblast's power level is a full 7 out of 7. In strength, Heatblast could hold his own against Drone Rojo, who had enough lifting strength to carry and throw AM-1 Abrams tank with a mass of 54,431.1 kilograms, putting her at class 100. And he also lifted up a large pile of burning rubble that was about to crush a mother and her child, and years later he managed to stop a rolling giant wooden bell weighing heavier than 3,000 pounds, almost 2 tons. Also, Heatblast's striking strength is enough to trade blows with Drone Rojo and Victor. So his strength is at building level with a 6 out of 7. Thanks to the magma rocks and the plasma energy that makes up his body, Heatblast is incredibly durable, with his well-known feat being thrown across multiple buildings at high velocity with no visible injury by Vilgax, which is at least several dozen walls of solid bricks and cements at a velocity faster than a cannonball. Other feats include casually shrugging off Drone Rojo's laser fire that wrecked a street, taking powerful punches from larger opponents, and surviving the Chimeran Hammer's explosion, thus gaining a 7 out of 7 in his durability at multi-city block level. In speed, While Heatblast might run relatively at the same pace as an average human, he can accelerate at high speeds through pyrokinetic flight by either projecting fire blasts downward or surrounding himself in a fiery aura, reaching at very fast speeds, or he can create a surfboard out of fire to ride on, allowing him to battle Sam as a water monster in mid-air combat and generating a fire tornado around the water monster by flying in a circle within seconds. And he raced miles toward Victor all the way from his castle, making his travel speed at subsonic to supersonic or between Mach 1 to Mach 3. Heatblast's combat and reaction speeds allows him to fight evenly with Drone Rojo and Victor. Both of them have kept up with and grabbed XLR8, meaning that Heatblast has relativistic reflexes. Heatblast is also capable of a form of pseudo-teleportation called pyroportation, where he can teleport by producing a fiery tornado around himself to avoid attacks, like when he teleported away from a horde of megawatts, whom can travel at lightning speeds, and appear several feet behind them a second later, and he can even transport others to safety inside his tornadoes without burning them. Like when he saved a boy and his mother from a burning building, and when he transported Kangaroo Commando down to safety using his pyroportation remotely. So, his speed is at a 7 out of 7 along with impressive acrobatics and agility, and can jump several times his size. Not to mention he has high stamina as he fought over a 100 of Vilgax's drones and the alien himself without tiring. Heatblast possesses other abilities besides pyrokinesis. He has terrakinesis that allows him to levitate on a piece of the ground and use it as a means of flight. In the third episode of Season 1 of Alien Force, Ben said he already learned this ability as he was teaching it to Alan Albright. This could mean he learned this ability after the original series. Heatblast has the ability to breath underwater and can swim impressively fast as well. Not only is this quite silly and weird because water is his main weakness, but also redundant because this is what Ripjaws is for and does it more effectively. Also, strangely Heatblast's pyrokinesis becomes inverted into cyrokinesis whenever he catches a common cold virus, becoming a being of icy fire. Technically making Heatblast or Coldblast in this case the first ice alien Ben used. He seems to be quite skillful with ice as he is with fire in this state. He can shoot blasts of ice energy capable of cooling down a nuclear reactor going into meltdown. He can also bring his hands together to create a blue ice fireball that can instantly encase opponents in solid ice until they eventually thwart out. Coldblast's cryokinesis gets its own rating of 7 out of 7 in power level and 6 out of 7 in versatility, mainly due to its great potential. However, this ability is completely impractical and unreliable due to needing TP catch the flu first, and detrimenting your health is never a good idea. Heatblast can also generate large smoke clouds to conceal himself and is immune to the effects of smoke. He is immune to ectoneurite possession due to his solar-like radiation and is immune to Vladic control via their corruptura as long as he burns them off with a small flare. Despite his impressive power set, Heatblast does have his fair share of weaknesses. The most obvious is his pyrokinesis is highly vulnerable to water and fire extinguishing chemicals, but he can heat up and reignite within a short time. If he's not concentrating, he can cause his fire to go out of control and cause mass collateral damage. And he also can't hold on to most objects as they would burn or melt in his hands. Despite being immune to ice and cold, Heatblast can still be trapped by ice until he melts it off, and his pyrokinesis doesn't affect anything fireproof like Forearm's thick skin, anything made of diamond like Diamondhead, and the Stalker. His other weaknesses are getting dizzy if he flies around in a continuous circle at extreme speeds and getting knocked down by Jetray's Neuroshock blasts. And Heatblast is weak against his species' natural predator, the Crabdozer. Overall, pyrokinesis is a straightforward ability that doesn't have many other effects besides burning, melting and warming things up. Regardless, Heatblast has proven to be very skilled, powerfully and versatile with this ability, but what I want to talk about is Heatblast's terrakinesis. I don't feel like it should be limited. Personally, I think his rock flight is redundant as he already possesses 2 other means of flight, which look way cooler. I'm not saying I hate it or it's bad, but it feels very underwhelming. Imagine how cool it would be if Heatblast could use his fire to telekinetically levitate large boulders like he was Benimaru Shinmon from Fire Force. This could make him even more versatile. He could launch meteor-like projectiles at his enemies that cause large explosion, build weapon out of rock like the fiery maces Scourge gave Wrath and Molstach, and build large stone walls for defense, welding them together with heat to make it extra strong. Or he can use his rock platform more practically and levitate larger or multiple versions to allow others to ride on them. While Heatblast's flames being turned to ice due to having a common cold was just a joke taken a bit too literally, I still legitimately that it was a clever and cool idea. That his flames can now freeze things instead of burning, it's a concept I think works better on him than Ultimate Big Chill. Heatblast could perform a cold version of his supernova hot called Ice Age Cold, where his ice flames are cold enough to reach sub-zero temperatures and everything around him is completely frozen. This could also be used for a potential ultimate form for Heatblast, where he has complete control over thermal energy, alternating between pyrokinesis and cryokinesis or using them at the same time similar to Shoto Todoroki. So Heatblast's potential gets 7 out of 7. In the entire franchise, Heatblast has been used on screen a total of 65 times and he's failed about 43 of those times, so he has a win percentage of 66%, gaining a 5 out of 7. My final thoughts. Heatblast is as the first alien to appear in Ben 10 has more than lived up to his hype. He's highly versatile in combat situations, his strengths outnumber his weaknesses, and has gained plenty of experience and skill to use his raw power well. Heatblast has a total score of 46 out of 49, and ranked a class and tier high 7C large town level. Wild Mutt is a Vulcamancer from the garbage dump planet Vulpan. He is the second alien to appear shortly after Heatblast in the first episode, and then there were 10. Wild Mutt has the appearance of a large orange animalistic being with canine-like traits and no eyes, ears, or nose on his head. Instead he has gill-like nostrils on the sides of his neck and is tailless. He stands on all fours and his very defined grayish-yellow teeth with black lips and his bottom jaw sticks out of his mouth. And also various quill-like spines found all over his back, chin, and on his forearms that functions similarly to cat whiskers allowing tactile sensing. Wild Mutt also wore a black and white brace on his left shoulder with the Omnitrix symbol, now replaced with a green and white collar in Omniverse. Vulpan is a pitch-black planet that's part penal colony and part toxic waste dump. It sits on the edge of the galaxy and its ecosystem has been poisoned beyond repair. This is due to the planet long serving as a dumping ground for hazardous materials far too dangerous for other worlds. Whatever life that does manage to survive among Vulpan's sub-zero temperatures and poisoned forest must learn to adapt to survive. It was because of this that the Vulcamancers have slowly lost their eyes due to not being used in a long time, and the planet's pollution has mutated them to have height senses. Vulpan forever stands as a tragic example of the consequences of reckless waste dumping and pollution. Due to the dog-eat-dog nature of their home planet, Vulcamancers are not very friendly with even their own kind. This is a common trait among animals that aren't family. Vulcamancers are normally live by hunting down whatever they can find to eat and moving on to the next meal. Despite their fearsome nature, Vulcamancers can whine like dogs when scared, especially by greatly terrifying or larger beings. Though they are not of notable intelligence, Vulcamancers are still considered sentient because is a pretty low bar to clear, meaning that an organism doesn't have to be advanced or particularly smart to be sentient, as long as they are aware of their actions and surroundings and have some measure of free will. Vulcamancers do have a language through a combination of barks and snarls, but it is too difficult for universal translators to translate and they are unable to speak English. In fact, they lack the vocal anatomy to speak. There is a special translator that can translate them, but it's not as portable. Wildmutt possesses an ultra-sensitive sense of smell as his main ability through the gill-like organs on either side of his neck. Due to being eyeless, his vision is a dull 3D model of his environment where his senses originate like a thermograph map. Wildmutt's capable of tracking almost anything and anyone by their scent alone. It is unknown what his full range limit is, but comparing him to real-life dogs like Bloodhound's sense of smell, Wild Mutt could be able to follow a trail over 130 miles and detect smells up to almost 2 weeks old. He also has enhanced hearing, able to pick up higher frequencies than normal humans. In conjunction with his enhanced smell, Wild Mutt possesses a form of radar and sonar, allowing him to perceive things in his surroundings far better than ordinary vision. Due to his senses, Wild Mutt can detect hidden or camouflaged entities, making stealth and invisibility useless against him. While Wild Mutt's main abilities are not physically powerful, they're undeniably broken in the sense of tracking and detection, and is highly useful in most situations involving catching and finding criminals and objects. Wild Mutt gets a 7 out of 7 in power and versatility. Wild Mutt has enhanced speed and reflexes, allowing him to dodge, evade, and counterattacks effortlessly, which works together well with his enhanced senses. His reflexes even allowed him to trip a Kineceleran while running, like he tripped Gwen 10 as XLR8. While she was inexperienced, this still puts his combat and reaction speed at relativistic, and he's also dodged laser beams from Vilgax's drones. Wild Mutt's travel speed is capable of moving faster than a cheetah, the world's fastest land animal, at 75 miles per hour or 120 kilometers per hour. In addition, he has great agility to run, jump, and climb at an inhuman rate without losing speed, and he is highly acrobatic and gymnastic as he's ape-like with his movements. Like most animals, Wild Mutt is a quadruped, but he is able to stand and punch on his hind legs, albeit awkwardly. Wild Mutt gets a 5 out of 7 in speed. Wild Mutt's strength allows him to tear apart Vilgax's drones with ease, throw a full dumpster at a group of Limax, tear the roof off of a car, and push Dr. Onimo's mutant mole at age 10. By age 16, he is strong enough to carry and run with a Floruna on his back without any trouble, hold his own against a bug lizard, and pin down prisoner 775 who pushed a truck. Wild Mutt's strength, along with his strong sharp claws, allows him to dig deep crater-sized holes even in solid stone ground at fast speeds, a task that would be very slow and difficult for construction workers with power tools. And a horde of Wild Mutts were able to easily shatter Tetrex's crystals while they were catching him and Gwen. Wild Mutt is a skilled melee combatant, as he was able to battle a Limax disguising as Grandpa Max, force back the Circus Freaks, Hex, Eon, and some Forever Knights. And even as a 4-year-old, Wild Mutt was able to outmaneuver and bring down a giant mechanical monster. Not to mention he has prehensile feet, as he was able to grab onto Gwen while resisting the powerful suction of the vacuum of space for a moment. Wild Mutt has human-like dexterity, as he's able to perform complex tasks with his hands most animals can't. This would put Wild Mutt's strength at a rating of 5 out of 7, with greatly high stamina. Wild Mutt's best-known durability feat is surviving a steel tower falling on top of with no visible injury, as he changed back into Ben. Even one of those steel beams would immediately kill a normal human being. VSpattle has calculated 3 ways to determining this feat. Energy of fragmentation equals 85.28 tons of TNT. Potential energy equals 2.48 tons of TNT. Kinetic energy equals 0.5 tons of TNT. So Wild Mutt's durability would be between building level and city block level, gaining a 6 out of 7. Wild Mutt can use his razor-sharp claws to cut through most minerals, and with his sharp teeth can inflict serious damage to his opponents. Unfortunately, Wild Mutt is one of those aliens where they have very limited uses in the abilities. Sometimes it's not that much of a problem, and sometimes it's a major problem, and Wild Mutt is somewhere in the middle. However, because he does not see in the conventional sense, Wild Mutt is the only alien that can't be affected by Topic's true face. Also, when he reaches adulthood, he is able to fire off the porcupine-like quills on his back and arms as projectiles at will, similar to Argit and his species. And they can be used to protect him while he's rolling along surfaces. Wild Mutt also grows a tail, and like other aliens with tails, it will probably be prehensile. Wild Mutt has a 3 out of 7 in potential. Unfortunately, Wild Mutt's greatest strengths are also his greatest weaknesses, as his hypersensitive hearing and smell are subject to sensory overload from powerful high-pitched sounds and strong odor. Due to Vulpamancers being physically unable to speak Earth languages, Wild Mutt is very difficult for anyone to understand. If he catches a cold virus, Wildmutt's nostrils get blocked by mucus, making them unable to smell or hear and thus rendering him essentially blind. Wildmutt can be temporarily frozen in ice by Big Chill and forced back by Swampfire's flames. Wildmutt has a win percentage of 64, so he gets a 5 out of 7. Wildmutt may not be one of the most powerful of the original 10, but he's extremely useful in terms of tracking and detection. And his other traits can make him a deadly and unpredictable melee fighter. Wildmutt's total score is 38 out of 49, ranked a D-class and 8th C/large building level alien. Diamondhead is a Petrosapien from the crystal planet Petropia. Diamondhead is third alien to appear in the episode, and then we're 10. Diamondhead is a silicon-based life form made of super hard pale green-blue diamond-like material. His body is made of sharp jagged crystal shapes like his 4 back spikes and his sharp flat head. In the original series, he wore a jumpsuit that was black on the right half and white on the left half with a black patch on the left shoulder where the Omnitrix is located. In Alien Force/Ultimate Alien, he wore no clothes and the rest of his body was revealed to be dark purple rock similar to chromostone, with the Omnitrix located on his chest. In Omniverse, Diamondhead wore an all-black shirt and pants, with a large green stripe down his chest, has a green belt with white stripes and the Omnitrix located in the middle, and black shoes with green bottoms. Petropia is a jagged crystal mass of a planet, home to not only the Petrosapiens, but also Sutsapiens, Anthrosapiens, and a Crystalsapien named Sugilite. After several centuries of interplanetary warfare, a giant hole was ripped in the sky, revealing a universe far beyond Petropia's heretofore self-contained existence. Many years ago, Petropia was destroyed by Vilgax using energy from the Petropia backup crystal, which was sold to him by a young and selfish Tetrax shard. But in Alien Force episode The Secret of Chromostone, Petropia and its people were revived by Sugilite and Ben as Diamondhead. Diamondhead has the ability to manipulate his own body structure at an atomic level at will, granting him the ability to metamorph and alter his physiology in unlimited ways, such as shape-shifting his arms into diamond weaponry like jagged blades or bludgeons, growing thorn-like spikes all over his body, morph his fingers into razor-sharp claws and even grow extra fingers to enhance his dexterity. Diamondhead can also stretch and enlarge his arms to lengths far greater than his own size and use them to propel himself by pushing against the ground, and can grow crystalline formations and constructs on his body at a quick pace and retract them back just as easily. Diamondhead can fire off crystal shards sequentially out from his hands or throughout his entire body in every direction. He can even cause them to explode like grenades, the explosions of which was strong enough to overwhelm Vilgax and break his shield of Seagull, which could easily block Jetray's neuroshock blasts. Diamondhead has the ability of crystallokinesis, meaning he is able to generate and manipulate crystal-like minerals either from his own body or from the ground at a distance. He can make monstrous and large clusters of crystals. He can create virtually any shape and construct out of his crystals he can imagine, such as conjuring walls and forming crystal shields and barriers to deflect projectiles. He can also create ramps, slides, helmets, and throwing weapons like boomerangs and an anchor on a chain. Diamondhead can even grow a giant crystal hand from the ground to grab large objects. Diamondhead is capable of encasing his enemies in crystal to trap them, and he can create crystals inside of objects and cause them to spike out. If under the effects of a cold virus, Diamondhead is able to sneeze out tiny sharp crystals from his mouth. It is unknown if he can do this when he is not sick, however. Due to his crystalline body making him resemble a living prism, Diamondhead has the ability to refract, deflect, absorb, and redirect most energy beams and attacks back at his opponent, and he is immune to laser weapons and blasters, even rays generated by dimensional transporter devices. The power of Diamondhead's crystallokinesis is very strong and effective, and he is shown to be very versatile and imaginative with his ability similar to Heatblast's pyrokinesis. So Diamondhead gets a 7 out of 7 in both raw power and versatility. Diamondhead possesses inhuman physical strength, being able to fight on par with heavy hitters such as Vulcanus, Kevin 11, and Malware. Diamondhead has also been able to carry and drag a large cage containing a grackleflint across Undertown, hold open a slamworm's mouth, and even break his own crystals. Diamondhead, like many of Ben's aliens, grows stronger as he gets older, as he was able to overpower Vilgax in a one-on-one brawl in Alien Force, the latter of whom was far stronger than his original series self, who at that time easily defeated Diamondhead and could collapse part of Mount Rushmore at his maximum strength, placing Diamondhead's lifting strength at Class M and his striking strength at large mountain level, giving him a 7 out of 7 in strength. Due to being a being made of diamond, Diamondhead is among the Omnitrix's most durable aliens alongside NRG in his armor and cannon bolt. His most famous durability feat was when in Omniverse Vilgax using malware as powerful armor punched him so hard Diamondhead flew across space from Galvan and landed on Galvan B within a 10 seconds and still wasn't cracked or fractured. In that same instance he was able to survive the vacuum of space. Versus Battle has calculated it to be either 352.51 megatons of TNT, 2.27 gigatons of TNT, or 40.17 zetatons of TNT, giving him a 7 out of 7 in durability. Also, like ordinary Diamond, Diamondhead is completely immune to extreme fire and heat, such as that generated by pyronites. By extension he can also tank molten metal and lava. On the opposite end, Diamondhead's crystal doesn't generate any body heat, making him impossible to track and essentially invisible to thermal vision. Diamond is also immune to strong acids, and he's complete immune to accelerated aging and rotting. Diamondhead blocked Eon's time ray in Race Against Time, and in Ultimate Alien, Ultimate Ben used Diamondhead's crystals to block Eon's time ray again. Both attacks could turn living and non-living things to dust instantly as diamonds don't age. This ability could easily extend to other aging or rotting abilities such as Shigaraki's Decay Quirk or Barragan's Respira. While Diamondhead is nowhere close to being among the fastest alien, but like many alien he possesses relativistic combat and reaction speeds as he's blocked and dodged light beams from near point-blank range like Malware's Laser Blast and Vilgax's Ruby Ray of Rouleau, and had kept up with opponents with similar speeds. But if he does want to travel fast, he can create and ride on a crystal board similar to Heatblast's fire board, easily allowing him to keep up with Clyde 5's rocket-propelled suit. So I say he gets a 5 out of 7 in speed. Diamondhead is by far Ben's most experienced alien as he was used more enough and had more training with him throughout the franchise from original series to the reboot. But despite his impressiveness, Diamondhead has a couple of weaknesses. His most damaging weakness is to sonic vibrations, such as a Loboan's Sonic Howl or Ultimate Echo's Sonic Discs. Either one will fracture his body and render him weakened or unconscious. Also, the two large spikes on his back can leave him stuck on a wall or on other surfaces he gets knocked into, and despite his durability he can be damaged by beings or creatures of great strength, and his regeneration is greatly limited as he can heal from great damage. It does without saying that Diamondhead is among the Omnitrix's most versatile aliens alongside Heatblast and Upgrade. His crystallokinesis allows him to create virtually any shape and construct like a crystal Green Lantern. So Diamondhead gets a 7 out of 7 in potential. In the entire franchise, Diamondhead has been used a total of 72 times on screen and failed 56 of those times, gaining a win percentage of 78% and a rating of 6 out of 7. My final thoughts: there's not much to say as Diamondhead is great alien in almost any combat situation, with a nearly perfect total score of 46 out of 49. With a ranking of A-Class and Tier 6C low island level.